Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I do want to try to stay on time because I know that we're all very busy. I'm actually sitting in my car doing this from my other job on this beautiful spring day. So hopefully everybody will have a chance to get outside and enjoy the weather. This is the first of our State Fair webinars that we're going to hold. They actually will usually be held on the second Wednesday of every month. We did change it for April considering the majority of folks seem to be at the conference and we didn't want people to miss out. We will also be recording these so that if someone happens to miss it or you have a staff member that you would like to check it out, they will be posted to the website under the resources section of the State Fair portion of the staff site. If you have questions while I'm going over some of these basics, please feel free to put them in the chat box or unmute yourself and chime in. That would be lovely as well. And I will also send the slideshow out as well and get that posted to the website at the conclusion of the webinar today. So again, thanks for joining us, and we'll go ahead and get started. So this is just the basics. It's an overview of where we're at, what's going on, maybe what's new or maybe what's not new. And we'll hopefully cover what you need to know to get yourself in the mindset of State Fair, as we know it's right around the corner. So I'm going to go over the leadership team who's on that, some things going on in the youth building, places on the website, a few updates in the evaluations area, our teen opportunities, and so on, as you can see, as well as the list of webinars and workspaces will be provided at the end of this slideshow. So for the New York State 4-H leadership team in animal science, we have Dana Palmer and Debbie Grunzenmeyer. There's also Tatiana who handles goats. I apologize, I left her off there. If there is an animal-specific question, oftentimes in the State Fair Premium Book, the superintendents are listed there, so it will also have their contact information. Usually we kind of defer to Dana if we're not sure, and she helps us out in that department. In the youth building, there's myself as the overall building coordinator, and I'm still handling some of the teen leadership things, although some of that will transition to some other folks. And we just welcomed on board Wendy Richardson from Herkimer County as our new evaluations coordinator. So we're still getting information out to her. Biggest thing with evaluations is that there are no major changes this year. No new classes, no big changes as far as rules, just maybe a couple of updates, but nothing significant, especially since this is a transition year for us. And then in the state office, there's Adam Davis, we have Alexa Maley, Andy Turner, Jamila Walida, Jen Bassman, and Nigel Gannon. And they each have specific responsibilities programmatically with helping us out in the youth building. So if you have some specific questions, you can always email me and I may defer to someone else. But that's who helps us out and works in the state office in supporting State Fair and all of our efforts. So the rotation information. Rotations are posted on the website. And I have posted both your arrival dates and departure times, as well as which rotation you may have indicated you wanted to be evaluated if you're sharing a booth. The majority of the counties do share a booth for the full 13 days. Greg Stevens asked me a question this morning, and I'm not sure if Greg is on, but if not, I'm also going to respond to his email. He questioned the start of the first rotation because there is an additional day. And that is true. The fair is now 13 days instead of 12. So if you are on the first rotation, you're actually going to be arriving probably either Tuesday late afternoon, early evening. You are still welcome to arrive on Wednesday morning. However, navigating and getting into the grounds to set up is going to be challenging as the fair will be open and operational. The other thing to keep in mind is on our end of the fairgrounds, the gates that we typically have gone out, gate 10, which is next to the beef barns, we have been informed is now going to be a major drop-off point for all bus traffic. So we're potentially going to have more business, so to speak, on our end of the fairgrounds, as that has become a major drop-off and pickup point for all of the bus routes. So keep that in mind. The other thing is that we will still be able to use Gate 5 for those counties that are transitioning in and out during fair. On the swap over days, you will still be able, with the special pass that we will post, to access Gate 5, which is right near the end of our building and does make that transition quite a bit easier. However, I do not believe that that gate will be available to you on Wednesday. So that's why it's important for those moving in on the first rotation to really think about how much you need to move into the building. And I recognize that it's another day, but logistically it may be beneficial for you to take advantage of moving in on Tuesday rather than the Wednesday. As far as dorms are concerned, we have finally found a dorm coordinator to take over Tom's responsibilities with the state fair as far as that is concerned. For those of you that have been attending fair for several years, Linda Pasco has been the assistant superintendent and was very willing and able to take on Tom's responsibilities. She is the person who will answer most questions dorm-wise as far as the building is concerned, as well as questions while you're on site. Registrations will still be run through the state 4-H office. Adam Davis handles most of that, and we also will continue to post the information on the state's website when it comes to code of conduct and any type of dorm forms that will be required for people to stay. The overall schedule, if you received the BRE last week, we are working to make each day a themed day in the building. That is only for our building currently. It's not fair-wide, but it's just a matter of trying to put a little bit more focus on what we do in New York State. And so we did get those days scheduled. We did finalize a couple of events that are transitioning from being multi-day events to being single-day events. The two that are most applies to is we've been accustomed to having Fashion Review offered multiple days during rotations. That will now be offered as a one-day event, and I will be emailing that date and those details out later today. The reasons for these changes is really based on participation numbers as well as some staffing challenges that we're trying to work through. It's not a permanent change. We will take it 1 year at a time and see what is needed and how many kids we have interested in each of these events. The other event that this applies to is what was formerly known as Junior Iron Chef. That competition is now going to be the Great 4-H Food Cook-Off. And I may have gotten my words mixed up, I apologize. But that will also transition to a one-day event. So again, that information will be sent out later today. And please feel free to email me if you have any questions about that. There will still be registrations, pre-registrations required for those. And we will still offer mannequin modeling for those teens that would like to do that while they are at State Fair as a teen leadership opportunity. So we're not taking that away, just the Fashion Review portion will be a one-day event for all those that wish to participate. We are going to be looking for key leaders in various areas. We, in the past, we've looked for key leaders to help with the activity zone. We've asked for key leaders to help us with the dormitories and kind of be that point person when a youth might need a chaperone. That doesn't mean that that key leader is their chaperone. It means that the key leader assists in finding a chaperone for that individual with the help of the county leaders. We will additionally be looking for key leaders to help us with some of the teen leader management pieces. And we'll go into a little bit more of that detail when we have the teen leader and junior super focused webinar. Parking. I don't have anything new on parking as far as I know. Nothing is going to change from last year, but I do have an inquiry in to see if there's any early updates on that. What we have heard is that they potentially may be creating a few more parking areas, but that will be more for the general public and not necessarily for vendors and folks like us that come and stay for extended periods of time. I will update as I get more information. I think there is another perhaps update that I need to give folks, and if you are not aware or you hadn't been up to State Fair for STAR, the sheep barn as we knew it will no longer, if not already, does not exist. It fell in this winter, so they will be demolishing that, and the sheep this year will be housed in a tent. And then there are some other plans being moved forward to create permanent housing. They also, I believe, are moving forward with working on the horse area, but I'm waiting to get a few more details on where they're taking that. And you know, if Dana has any updates she would like to share on that, please do. But I have not heard anything in addition to what we were told in January. So the staff website, we no longer use the hub. We do use the regular New York State 4-H website. Thank you very much, Dana. So Dana hasn't heard any other updates either except the sheep tent situation. So the New York State 4-H, NewYorkState4H.org, I think is the correct website. I might be wrong. And my computer does not wish to connect there at the moment. So I would love to show you, but it doesn't want to agree with me. That is where we house everything, including past issues of the Blue Ribbon Express. The Friday News can also be found there, but all things State Fair are going to be housed on that website. I am in the process of updating and taking down old things and putting up new things pretty much on a weekly basis right now. So please be patient. And if you're missing something or you can't find it, please shoot me an email and I'm more than happy to try and take care of that and get that done expeditiously so that other people can find it as well. In order to find the staff site, if you're new to looking at the website, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page on the public site, there's a little tab that says staff site. It's on the left-hand side. If you click on that, it will take you to the site, the portion of the site that houses anything and everything that staff might need to know. So then you would just locate, thank you, Dana. You would just locate the section for State Fair, click on that, and then we have 6 options, 6 places where we house different documents and things. If you're having difficulty with the website or accessing that kind of thing, or you can't find something, the other person you can contact website-wise is Jen Bassman, and she's incredibly helpful in finding things, and if we can't find them, trying to figure out where they went. So evaluations. I'm in the process of transitioning information to Wendy, and with that includes our evaluator information. I'm very terribly sorry for the background noise. So I'm transitioning things to Wendy, and we will welcome Wendy in our next edition of the BRE. But if you have any questions evaluation-wise, you can still email both myself and Wendy as we get her settled. We have been in the process of hiring evaluators, and I will be forwarding that to her. The forms for evaluation will be available on the website. That includes the actual evaluation forms that are utilized at State Fair and the master lists that everyone will need to fill out prior to arriving at State Fair. We will have a separate webinar covering evaluations specifically, but in the meantime, if something comes up, please don't be afraid to ask. Teen leadership opportunities. So we're at the point now where I have pretty much hired or have accepted the applications for the junior supers that want to return. A junior super, for those that are not familiar, are older teens that actually live and work in the building either for 1 week or for the full 2 weeks of State Fair. They're my extra arms, eyes, legs, feet, you name it. They're there to be an extension of the 4-H office and can help with most anything that folks may need. The applications for new junior supers will be posted May 1st, and I will be in dire need of new junior superintendents. Many of our junior supers that you may have become familiar with have graduated from high school and are moving on to college. So I only have 4 out of 12 that will be returning for the 2019 season. So if you have some teens ages 16 to 19 that have not yet aged out of program, and you think this would be a good opportunity, please keep an eye out for that, and I will be happy to entertain their applications and recommendations to hire them to work for us during the summer. Youth and teen leaders. So last year was our banner year to introduce the youth leader position. Most of those youth leaders were episodic, and what I mean by that is that it was more, hey, I have a kid that showed up, they're younger, they're only 9, they're only 10, what could they do? And we would find them a job, and they do get paid. They get paid just a premium. They're only expected to work half the amount of time that a teen leader works, but they were sort of compensated for that time. I realize it's not a lot of money, but we focus more on the experience that they're receiving, and then they just get that little bit of acknowledgement at the end of the fair from the State Fair financially. Youth leaders are those that are younger. They're usually supervised by either a volunteer or the county educator. The best place for them to work most cases is the county booth, but we can find other places that are age appropriate for them to help out. They're usually ages 9 to 12. It's kind of that transition, that working up to being a teen leader and then hopefully moving into the role of being a junior superintendent. Any youth that is enrolled in the 4-H program can be a teen leader. And their role as teen leaders are to help with very specific areas in the building. They work, they're expected to work 6 hours a day. That means they can work in your county booth on the activity you've brought with you. They could choose to work with Chip Malone and Susan Hoskins and GPS GIS. They could work in shooting sports. They could help with evaluations. There's a lot of different areas. Yay, Susan, I'm so glad you joined us today. Thank you. But the building can't run without our volunteers and without our teen leaders, especially when it comes to evaluations. So if this is an opportunity that your county offers to teens, please start the recruitment now. I will be getting those nomination forms updated and uploaded soon. And I also can give you a little update in that we are working to bring the sign-in process into the 22nd century. With the help of Adam Davis, we've started to work on an online check-in system. We still have to figure out a few of those details, but it will allow youth to sign in for the day so that hopefully we don't miss anybody. And then the key leaders or the educators or the volunteers that work in those areas will sign off that those youth actually showed up. So there is a checks and balances system that will be in place, and I will have more information with greater detail when we have the webinar that's specific to teens. Hands-on activities, we're currently in the process of updating the kit library. Alexa primarily works on that, so I will be working with her to get those updated. Those are those activities that you can borrow to do in your booth, or we might use them in the activity zone. They're usually takeaway types of items, but also keep in mind that when you're planning to come up for either manning your booth or maybe working the activity zone, there's a lot of value in activities that are more about the experience and the education that the people receive while they're there than necessarily the takeaway. Keep in mind that when you're doing activities, coloring sheets or stress balls are absolute favorite activity. They're fantastic and they're wonderful educational activities, but probably at least 50% of those end up in the trash bin before they leave the state fair. So that's just something to consider as you try to plan, because there's literally hundreds of thousands of people going through our building on any given day. The activity zone, it is coming back. We're going to revamp it just a hair this year based on some successes that we had last year, and that is that it will still be a place for people to go and participate in some specific activities, or maybe you only have 1 or 2 kids that were able to show up and they're not going to work in your county booth and you need a place for them. We can shift them there. But we're also going to be utilizing the activity zone for some of our community partners. So for instance, Project Linus joined us last year, which was fantastic for them. They were excited and are excited to join us again this year if we can work out all the details. We'll also be looking to some of our Cornell partners to perhaps put them in that space, because the good news is every single booth space in our building currently is going to be full for every rotation. There will be no blank booths this fair. So that makes it a little challenging to find place for extras, but we will work it out. The activity zone will continue to be located right next to GPS GIS, gives a nice big space. So if you have a special project you want to highlight in the activity zone, if you have something going on that you would just, even for one day or even for 2 or 3 hours, shoot me a note and say, hey, we'd really like to do that. I know that Susan, giving another shout out to her, contacted me about doing this soil painting that was a huge success at Star. And so we're looking at putting them in that space on maybe a couple of days or one day during each rotation. So we'll be working on that schedule. Okay. So as last year, we're also looking to make sure that there's a sea of green in the youth building. So t-shirt orders, please don't use that link that's in here, because I know Jen is still in the process of negotiating and updating that information, and we will send that out as soon as it is available. By no means are these a requirement. We understand that it's an expense. We're just giving you this opportunity and this option available if you so choose to use it. Thank you, Jen. Jen says, sure, orders out in the next couple of weeks. So we'll make sure that that comes out in the next BRE for folks, as well as where they will be delivered, when they will be delivered, and how you can get your orders. I will tell you that based on the pictures that we were receiving last year, it was an absolute delight to see the sea of green in our building. And so we are looking to continue that, and also make sure that Animal Science knows that this opportunity is extended to them and to their partners as well. So keep that in mind and keep an eye out for those updates. These are the dates of the additional webinars. So we'll have one in May, one in June. Please note that the Animal Science webinar is a month earlier than we have done it in the past. We've actually switched evaluations in Animal Science as there were some conflicts and things like that. So we were trying to make it as easy for our partners to join us as possible. So take note that that Animal Science webinar is a month earlier than it usually would be. And then in August, we'll have the last minute logistics. Every webinar will have any updates that we're receiving from State Fair as I get them, including parking. Also, we will continue to post any of those updates or changes in the Blue Ribbon Express, which is what the BRE is. If you are not receiving the BRE for some reason, please let Jen Bassman know, because that does contain a lot of information and a lot of updates that cross all aspects of the State Fair. I'm trying to think. I think that covers everything as far as just the basics. It's a lot to digest, and I understand that, but does anyone have any questions at this point, or things that have come up that they're curious about? When will the dorm form process be open? That's a great question, Dina. I'm not sure yet, as we need to get we need to get Linda kind of oriented and get that taken care of. But as soon as that's done, I would expect that it'll be no later than sometime in June, which is right around the corner, scarily enough. Jen Bassman has also posted in the chat if anybody needs to sign up for the newsletters. She has given the link to do so in the chat box. Anything else, folks? Good question, Tammy. To clarify, Fashion Review will be offered one day for the entire fair. And the same thing with the Great 4-H Cook-Off. It will be one day for the whole fair. Much like they do things like the Livestock Skillathon or some of the other animal science events, it will only be offered once. And that truly is because of our low participation numbers over the past few years. And can be revisited again to add additional days in the future if we need to. And I will email those dates out to folks so they have that for promotion. Yep, not a problem. So yeah, I will email that out, as well as I will probably just emphasize the overall schedule, because now that those 2 dates have been solidified, and also note that robotics moved to the following weekend. So robotics has moved to the Sunday before Labor Day, and will still be a one-day event. There are a few days that are still open. So if counties or districts wish to do communications, they want to get their kids on stage, I will get that schedule out to folks to look at to see if it fits within what their needs are for the districts and for their counties. Here's someone typing. So the date for 4-H Day, which has not yet been 100% confirmed by State Fair, but FFA and I have been in communications, and we're going to push forward that day will be the first Saturday of the fair, which I believe is August 25th. So we're going to push forward with our plans and just see what happens. Thank you, Ruth. Good question, KO. So what is 4-H Day? Last year, the State Fair gave the 4-H and the FFA kind of, they gave us a venue to highlight what it is that we do. So they gave us space at Chevy Court, or just next to Chevy Court, where we could take some of our activities. We could take, we had animals, FFA brought a few of their displays and whatnot to highlight what 4-H does kind of at that main entrance to the fairgrounds. We've yet to convince them to give discounts on admission or anything like that, but they do promote it as 4-H FFA Day. So it's a partnership day to really promote what 4-H and FFA do across the state and at the state fair. So as soon as I get a 100% confirmation on that, I will let everyone know. But Jen Bassman, myself, Terry Hughes from FFA are going to continue to push forward to plan for that day. Any other questions, folks? Alrighty, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll get this posted as soon as we can for those that may have missed it, or if you need to share it with other staff. And as always, please email me if you have any questions, concerns, or just are unsure of what to expect or need clarification on anything. Give me a shout out and I will do my best to answer your questions. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.